action. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the 9th floor of my Manhattan apartment building, where I am broadcasting from today, and I'm really excited because I have a lovely guest who's about to join us. But before we hop on an airplane with our passports, oh wait, I forgot my passport. 1 second. What? You can't find it? Wait. My saga of this week is about my passport. Before we talk knitting, my driver's license came up for renewal. Oh, I forgot to tell you who I am. I'm Billy, and I am the host of Show and Tell. So my driver's license only gets renewed once every 8 years, and the 8 years was ending a couple of months ago. And I think with the COVID situation, the Department of Motor Vehicles neglected to send me the renewal. And when I realized that I didn't have a valid driver's license, I sort of panicked. So I went online and I found out, go in person. Okay, so I walked the couple of miles to the office, and I have my old license with me and whatever form I needed to fill out. And I get to the desk after waiting online, and I had a scheduled appointment because they're staggering people. Did you bring your passport with you? What? If only you had told me. I know exactly where my passport is. I so easily could have brought it. So I march home, and I go to my place where I always keep my passport. It's not there. I can't find my passport. I turned my apartment inside out, looked in every bag, in every box, in every closet, in every file cabinet. I couldn't find it, and I was in an absolute panic. You can't even imagine. Finally, I found it, and I went back to the place, and the rest of the story is not so interesting. But I said to my husband, oh my goodness, could you imagine what a blessing in disguise this was? Could you imagine if we had airplane tickets and I just assume our passports were where they always are, and now we're getting ready to leave for the airport and I can't find our passports? It took me a long time to find these things. Anyway, today we are going to Brazil, and before we do, I guess I should tell you about what I'm wearing. I wear a lot of gray. Since my hair's very gray, I think gray is a pretty good color for me. So I have several gray sweaters that I've knit. This sweater was the first sweater that I knit when I came back to knitting after a long hiatus. So that's a couple of years ago. I purchased it at Downtown Yarns in Manhattan. And they were nice enough to print out the pattern for me because they have their little connection to Ravelry. Normally I don't print out patterns, but at that point I didn't have it set up with me, and I wanted to try and knit again and make sure that I still remembered how. So it's called Number 25 Swing Front Cardigan by Eisaku Noro Design Team, and it's from a Noro knitting magazine from 2018, which is just about the time that I knit it. It is knit with Lana Grossa Cashmere 16 Fine, which is a sport weight, and the color is light gray tweed, and I trimmed it with a darker shade. I forget what that colorway was. So let me do a little modeling for you. There we go. And I've accessorized with my rhinestone bracelet and some dress clips, I think 1940s, and a couple of, well, a pair of vintage earrings. And this is my grandfather's watch fob, which I had converted to a necklace for myself. Interestingly, I found this, I knew that my mother had it. I found it in her jewelry box, but separately I found this chain, and wasn't attached to this at all. He used it for a different purpose. But the chain was just the perfect length, and I had my jeweler just attach it for me, and I love this marcasite. It's not fine jewelry, but it's so sentimental to me because this is the grandfather who I'm named after, William. They called him Bill, and they called me Billy. And this little bonbon is a dress clip as well, but I don't have the mate to it. This belonged to my husband's grandmother who gave it to me. I think I might have mentioned that one before. Anyway, so now you're all up to date on what I'm wearing. Oh, the beret. So you've seen me wear a lot of different hats. I didn't have a particular hat that I was going to wear with this. I have a hat that I want to show you, but I have to go to one of the trim stores in the garment center because one day I was wearing it and the feather blew out. And I didn't notice that it blew out of my hat. And without the feather, the hat is nothing. So I probably have something I could have pulled out. But instead, late in the day yesterday, I decided to start knitting. I've wanted a beret, and I knew, even though I don't have stash, I had 2 balls of this Millamia left over from one of my sweater projects, and it was just enough to knit Sari Nordlund's Salut Cherie beret. So it took me no time at all. Leading up to this episode, I was frantically knitting to finish it in time. It's not blocked yet, but there you have it. Okay, so don't go away. I'm going to be back with my guest, and it's a good thing because I see the sun is coming strongly through my window and washing me out. I'll be right back. So I would like for my guest today to please introduce herself and tell us where she's from. Go ahead.
Hello, my name is Kati, but everyone calls me Kati, and I'm from São Paulo, Brazil.
Can you spell that?
Sorry?
Can you spell the name of your city because it's not pronounced the way it looks?
Okay, it's Saopaulo.
And that would be for English speakers, St. Paul?
Yes, it would be, but we say São Paulo.
São Paulo. And it's not the capital of Brazil, am I right?
No, it's not. The capital is Brasilia, which is far away from here. It's in the middle of the country, and São Paulo is more or less in the southeast.
But it is by far the largest city by population, not only in Brazil, but in all of South America, in all of the Western Hemisphere, and in all of the Southern Hemisphere. 12 million people. I have not been there. I have been to Rio de Janeiro.
Oh,
so maybe next trip to Brazil, I get to go to Sao Paulo. I better brush up on my Portuguese first. So all I can say is obrigado, which is, I think, the most important thing to be able to say.
It's enough.
So tell me about your hobby, because I think that you're not focused on knitting, but there's some unusual interest that you have in knitting. Let's start with your beret. It's just pure coincidence that we're both wearing berets today. And I rushed in the last hour to finish this. I just started it yesterday. But I wanted to wear a gray sweater, and I thought, well, I don't have a hat, so I have to make a hat, lickety split. But that was just a pure coincidence. Did you knit your beret?
I knitted it. I knitted from a pattern available at Trove, a pattern called Versatile Beret from 1943.
I will have to get the name of that from you so that I can put that in the show notes, because Trove I understood, but the rest of it was hard for me.
Versatile Beret. It's because it's hard to speak English. It's not so easy.
No, you're doing a great job. And as I already divulged, my Portuguese is one word. So don't be too hard on yourself. You're doing great. You know, I forgot to mention something else, which is big in the news today. Then we'll come back to your knitting, crochet, sewing, I think. Someone very prominent in Brazil just died in the last day or so. The richest man in Brazil, the world's richest banker, Joseph Safra. And the only reason this was of particular interest to me, well, a couple of reasons. I used to be in banking, and once upon a time I interviewed for a job at Safra Bank in New York City. So they're in Brazil, but they're also in New York. His estimated net worth was $22 billion US. So this was a very prominent businessman. I don't know, you know, and I'm guessing that he lived in Sao Paulo because that's the banking capital of Brazil. Is it big news there? Is it, you know, a special day there?
Not a special day, but the news is on TV. He was already in an advanced age. He was 85 or something and died of natural causes. Mm-hmm. So
okay, so I'm sorry to digress, but that was something special to Brazil today.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Okay, so you knit, but you don't knit a lot. Have you knit any sweaters or just accessories?
I'm knitting sweaters now, 2 sweaters, but I have to confess, I am an accessory woman. I like berets, I like scarves, I like gloves, I like to make little things to work with my other accessories that are not knitted or crocheted or anyway. So, but now I'm making the challenge to have the patience to knit a whole sweater. So I'm knitting 2 in the same time.
But you sew primarily, right?
Yes, actually, I am mainly a crocheter.
Ah.
Yes, I started to crochet when I was 12 years old. I am now 36, and I learned with my aunts in the northeast of the country when I made a trip, a holiday trip. I didn't know anything about textile arts, and there where they live, it's a traditional thing to crochet. Many Brazilians know how to crochet, many, like everyone knows how to crochet, but few people know how to knit.
Well, knitting makes a denser fabric, and in a hot climate, I mean, I looked up the average temperatures, 20 degrees Celsius, 70 degrees roughly Fahrenheit. So it's pretty warm all year round. And I know it gets much hotter than that. It can go up to 100 degrees Fahrenheit, which for us is like, bring me an ice cube, especially here in New York where it's humid when it's hot like that too. So crochet is much more of an open weave, which brings me to the next question, which is, are there yarn shops?
This is a good question, because exactly because the weather, we cannot wear sweaters. It's too hot. Imagine this for 9 months in the year. Even, for example, this year, in quarantine, everyone inside the house, the days were sunny, the days were blue, and we had more or less 25 degrees every day on winter. And we couldn't go out. We had to stay here, feeling the weather and everything. So there are some yarn shops, but it's not so easy to find 100% wool, for example. The one that I use is imported from Italy. And there is, apart from this one, there is another brand that is produced in the south of the country from merino sheets. But yes, there's not so much wool, but we have a lot of cotton, many kinds of cotton.
Cotton. Mm.
It's that is also more suitable for crochet. Also, crochet is something important to say. Crochet is more spread here, not only because the weather, but also because the Portuguese tradition of crocheting. They have a strong culture of making crocheted things, and it's even hard to find knitting patterns from Portugal. I never seen one on internet or in my collection. I don't have. I only find crochet patterns from
Well,
Portugal.
before we talk about your patterns, it seems like you have a passion for vintage, a lot of vintage clothing, but it's not clothing that's made by you. Is it authentic, original from the 1930s and 40s that you wear?
No, I wear only reproductions that I made.
Ah,
And
so you made what you're wearing?
yes,
Oh, wow.
because the weather, the clothes didn't survive here. The weather destroys everything. The humidity destroys everything. So we have, sometimes I see so many online shops in Europe and US showing original garments, and I am in love with all of them, but we don't have any here. Few museums have something to show, but to buy, it's hard to find. So if I want to maintain, to have a vintage style, I have to make something here.
So I know that you have this collection. Let's just get right down to it. Tell me why you collect vintage patterns and how many of these do you think you have?
Oh, Jesus. This is a hard, the second question is the hardest. Well, firstly, I was inspired in the beginning by one crocheter in special that has an Instagram called VintageGal. It's Kate from United Kingdom. As I told you, first I was mainly a crocheter, and then I was looking for inspiration of something different because I was tired of seeing everyone making the same things. And suddenly I arrived to her profile. And from her profile, I could discover the knitters that were making, reproducing sweaters from the 30s, from the 40s. And I got intrigued. I never had seen this before, never, never. And then I thought, well, if they have magazines showing these patterns, these beautiful blouses, all these things, I'm quite sure Brazil also has these magazines somewhere. And I have to find them. I have to look where they are because I want my magazines and I want to discover the story of fashion of my country, of my place. And then I started to go to thrift shops and look for them and hunt for them. And I almost didn't find crochet patterns. They are rare, but I found a lot of knitting patterns, a lot, many. And then I decided to learn, to start to learn knitting because of that, because I couldn't find the crochet ones, but I still wanted to have to reproduce, to understand as a 40s girl would wear something because it's so different of the current fashion, so different of what people understand as vintage sometimes because the word vintage got very commercial, and then you check if the clothes really has the vintage style and it doesn't have. So making is better than trying to see what the commercial shops assume as vintage. And then I found this magazine. First, I found Brazilian magazines, mainly from late 40s and early 50s. And going deep, could find 30 magazines that are my favorites now. And then I also found French and Argentinian and Mexican magazines here.
Wow.
Yes. And when I stopped to find the magazines I wanted, I started to buy new ones on eBay and other pages on the internet. And now I have only, all the magazines are around me now. I'm looking to the side because they are here. Only knitting and crochet magazines, only this. I have around 100.
Wow.
Each one with 20 to 30, 20 to 40 patterns. Each one. So like
that's 4,000, 2,000 to 4,000 patterns.
Yes, and I also, in the same time, I was collecting fashion magazines that have, how do I say, the drawing of the dresses to sew, but also a couple of knitting patterns inside.
Ah.
And for these ones, I have like 200, and then some more patterns available inside these magazines.
So thousands of patterns.
I believe.
Now, I know that in your lifetime, you're not going to knit thousands of objects. You might, I mean, you're young, you might. So what is the fascination? Is it just like little boys here in the United States collect baseball cards? Like, I want to have a complete set, or all my favorite players? I mean, it's just collecting for the sake of collecting? Or do you think that someday a museum might like to own your collection? Or I know sometimes people collect with that in mind. What, you could have just a few of these and be knitting for many, many, many years, but there's something about collecting that is going on here.
It's hard because the first time it was curiosity. I wanted to discover if Brazil had this because, well, we are in the South and maybe we didn't have access to everything that was available in the North Hemisphere, and I wanted to know if we were connected in some way, and we were. And secondly, I discovered that these magazines were in a very bad condition. They were like being destroyed in the thrift shop. Nobody cared of them.
Right.
And I started a personal mission of rescuing them, to maintain them in a safe place and try to complete the collection of some titles, and in the future maybe put all of them on the internet. About museums, I don't know if they want all this old paper with them. This year, for example, I received a donation from the museum. They gave me around 7 or 8 magazines called, what's this? I have to take it just a second. Called, here, this one. It's inverted, but it's McCall Needlework, Knitting, Crocheting. They gave me 6 or 7 40s magazines from the 40s of this one. That are very special for me because they have wartime patterns and all that thing of trying to match the pattern, the clothes to the maximum skirts you have, you know, using the material rationally and everything. So the museum gave them to me, and I don't understand why they couldn't catch the magazines, why they didn't want to keep the magazines.
They might have a second copy. These might be duplicates.
They don't.
No? Oh, so
No.
it's not something they're interested in. Wow. I bet in years to come, when you have this large collection that you could present to them, maybe not now, but maybe at some future date,
Yes.
they might see the value and they might be happy to have them. Nevertheless, do you speak all of the languages of the magazines that you're collecting, the patterns that you're collecting? Will you be able to knit from them or crochet from them?
I am able. As I told you, I have magazines from
Argentina.
Argentina and Mexico.
So you speak Spanish?
I don't speak well, but I read very well. And the same from French magazines. Actually, I studied 2 years of French in the past, and I can read the patterns very easily. I speak a little bit myself, but
that's pretty good, because I'm looking at English patterns and that's my native tongue and I'm struggling. Some of these old patterns, we've discussed this on my podcast before, some of them are written in a very different way than how patterns are knit today. So, well, good for you if you're able to do that.
But of course, sometimes some mistakes happen. For example, I made a scarf these days, and I translated from French, but they used the two same words to say bind off, and let me remember. Bind off and another thing that I don't remember now.
Well, in English, we sometimes say cast off or bind off. Cast on, cast off.
Yes, but it was another thing. I don't remember another thing. I don't remember the word in English, but the two things to say, one word to say two things, two different actions. So I was stuck in a point of the pattern where I didn't know what they were really wanted to say, and I thought, and after hours, now I understand what. It doesn't help so much when this happens, but it's part of the process. It's part of the way.
I think it's part of the fun. I think it's like a researcher. They keep searching and searching, and every so often you find some surprise, and that's a payoff. Like the people who are archaeologists, they're digging, then finally they find this dinosaur or a tomb of a soldier. So sometimes, that work, it pays off in the end. It's hard work. It is.
Yeah,
but it's fun. I mean, the challenge is the fun.
Yeah, this is as you said, it's like an archaeologist. It's sometimes even similar to a scientific process. You are translating not only the words but the culture that is inside.
Yes.
The words, the phrases, the processes. So this is the difference. If it was so easy, if it was so, I could buy a magazine in the streets of 20,000, year 20,000, and knit a pattern easily. But it's nice to dig,
Yes, like an archaeologist.
Yes.
So you wanted to share your screen and show us some of the patterns, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Possible, I would like. Well, maybe there are many patterns to show. I'm trying I tried to select the spotlights, and let's go and let's see how it flows.
Okay.
Well, first, let's go to France. Here. This is the cover of my oldest magazine. It was published in 1927.
And it's French.
It's French, March 1927. It's called Pénélope. magazine. Travaux de Laine mold means wool work, wool means something like needlecraft and fashion. And this beautiful pattern shows this deco style, these triangles in the front of a sweater, and this dark blue against an orange color. That is so beautiful, so different, so strong, and so characteristic of the 20s. And I bought this magazine only because this design, I didn't know who, for which kind of garment it was. And then I discovered it was a boy's, a boy's sweater. I got a little bit sad, but I think this can be graded and maybe become a kind of sport tennis jumper, something like that for a woman.
Absolutely.
It's very beautiful. It cannot be only in the page of this magazine. This has to be reproduced. And then here there are some men's pattern. I'm gonna show the men's first because just in this case, this one is from 32 and it's very beautiful because also has these triangles that are still characteristic of the Art Deco movement. They use a lot these geometric shapes to design the clothes, to make them differently. And this is very interesting. I don't see a man today using a sweater with these triangles that look a bit silly in the first look.
It's very specific to that period. It's fabulous. You can imagine the colors. That's 4 different colors it looks like.
Here it says green, dark red, and 2 tones of green. I guess it's light green and dark green, and dark red. But the main color is dark green. Dark green with light green and red.
Mm-hmm. It's great.
It's great. And another one for men with this kind of polka dots as well. They look a bit silly as well. It's not so common to see men using polka dots. I never see. It's not exactly a polka dot, something like, I don't know, circles with moons inside.
Right, it's like an eclipse. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So these ones are very interesting from the beginning of the 30s. And then another page of Pénélope. This one is from 34, and it shows.
Did you find these together or you found these on 2 separate days?
These ones specifically were from a lot that I bought in 2 parts. So they are probably from the same owner. And then I couldn't buy all of them together. So I bought one part in 1 month, another part 2 months, 3 months later. And what I like of this is the stripes that are so beautiful. And it seems they were a fashion especially in this year 34, because they appear in several patterns. Wow, here in several patterns of the year in diagonal direction. So beautiful. So it's an easy way to add interest to the clothes. It's so different of what you see today.
You're killing me because I love these. This is my favorite period between the 2 world wars. I love that one.
This detail here.
Right, I like those 2 buttons.
It's wonderful. It's wonderful. Even the stripes here in the
Yes.
just in the end of the sleeves. Let's put some stripes here. Why not?
Oh, it's just fine.
Wonderful. Let me see. No, I'm gonna come back a little bit because the wait, I changed the order. I want to show you some from France that are after. It can be here. This is the magazine Le Tricot from 1937, and it shows this beautiful, beautiful ski sweater with leather shoulders and these small designs here of a farm or something, a man carrying animals somewhere, and it's very beautiful, very interesting. The belt, all the shape, but especially the leather, the insertion of the leather shoulders. It's something so not challenging, but so special. I never seen a pattern.
Original.
Original. This is the word. Original. So I have a story about this. I'm gonna tell you later. Just keep in mind this sweater.
Okay.
This is from the same magazine. I don't remember if it's the same number, but the same Le Tricot. Le Tricot was a magazine that, for me, was made for rich people because they show patterns that that asks for yarn that is very expensive. If you convert the price of the yarn, if you compare the price of the yarn for these ones, compared, wait. There are magazines there that are made for people with less money and more money, and it's possible to know because the French, they put the price of the yarn, the recommended yarn in the magazine. So Le Tricot has the more expensive recommended yarn, and all the quality of the paper is also different. It's a thick white paper, while the other French ones are made of a kind of newspaper, a paper that is very sensitive and it gets yellow easily.
Mm-hmm.
It's made to be destroyed soon. But Le Tricot, no, it's a kind of high-class magazine. So these two patterns, they are for ski as well. And look how brilliant and vibrant the colors were, including, for example, this one that has this little tie with the traditional
Fleur de lis.
That is very French. It's something related to the royal family there.
Yes.
So this beautiful one, and also this one with these stripes in the opposite regular direction. They are in the direction of the arm, what is very different as well, very beautiful. And this part is not knitted. This is a suede insertion.
So it could be a vest. Oh, no, I guess it is connected at the shoulder. It is one piece. So they knit on a collar and sleeves. Stunning. The back also looks like it might be knitted.
The back of
Under her arm, you can see a little bit of the back. It looks like it's wrapping around.
It's here, it's true.
Yeah, it looks like the back could be knitted.
I didn't notice before, but it's true.
Well, in the pattern, it will certainly say.
Yeah, I'm gonna check because I didn't notice it before. And it's amazing. And also from the same magazine, this set of gloves and socks and snood, something like that, with a scarf attached. That's also amazing with these stunning colors, green, yellow.
To see
Red.
the colors is what's so special.
It is. It gives personality to the garment, and also the quality of the printing is amazing.
Yes.
It's full color. It's not edited. I didn't make anything. I didn't add a filter. This is the color of the magazine.
Wonderful. The pom-poms, every bit of it. It's great.
Yeah, beautiful. I have some from France. Where they are? I don't find them now. Ah, here. This is an example from 1938, if I don't remember. It's a magazine for summer blouses. And what I like on it is that it uses many different materials to knit. Not only yarn, but linen and cellophane and other materials that I don't even know what they are. This blue one, for example, it's called, the material is called peau d'ange. That means skin, angel's skin. I don't have any idea what this is. Angel's skin. Peau d'ange, I don't know. Anyway, it's wonderful. These sleeves that are so loose and so feminine, with all this kind of little ties in front in this blue sky color. It's just amazing, amazing design.
I'll try and find out. I have a very close friend who's French. I'll try and find out what peau d'ange, I know that would be angel skin, but what that referred to in yarn, I'll see if I can find out.
I found a few references, but I was not satisfied yet with the results. I guess I need to talk as well to some French person, and then they can help to solve this mystery. And for example, one of this one is made of cellophane. It's a small vest made of cellophane, and it's not so beautiful. It's more interesting for its material, but well, let's say it's interesting. This one is crocheted, but it's also made in this material. I just added because it's made in this material called pailletin. That is another thing I don't know what it is. I don't have an idea.
No.
It's the only pattern I've seen with this term.
Paillettes are sequins, but I don't know if this has anything to do with that. But again, I can try and find out. Pailletin. Okay.
And since you like the 30s, another blouse, a beautiful blouse of the 30s. This one is blue. It seems white, but it's not. It's blue as well, with some stripes. It has these beautiful buttons and the raglan sleeves that are amazing, just amazing. And made in boucle wool. It's hard to say this, all this together. Boucle wool. That's here's the texture.
Ah, that's my friend's name, Claudine.
Oh yeah, it's a beautiful name. It sounds very beautifully. And then, no, this one is not. And then I'm gonna jump directly to the 50s in France as well. Another winter blouse from magazine Mon Ouvrage, 1951.
I've seen this pattern somewhere recently.
In my Instagram. I posted it there.
Ah, possibly.
And it's made with 6 ply wool and embroidered with sequins, black sequins in front. It's very, it has some luxury, but it's sporty in the same time because the stripes here along the arms. Also, she looks like going somewhere with this hat, going somewhere in the morning. It's very sporty and at the same time it has this classy style of the beginning of the 50s.
Mm-hmm.
Very beautiful. And then this one of my favorites from 51 as well, a summer blouse embroidered. And it looks a little tiring, but it's not exactly. Anyway, it has this folk style, which is beautiful.
I used to wear blouses like that when I was in high school, not knitted, but cotton.
Yeah,
It was a fashion in the United States for a period of time with blue jeans.
Wonderful. I seen everyone know the Hungarian blouses from the 30s, and then the folk style from Germany from the 30s and 40s, but on 50s you don't see it so much, and I never seen one like that before. Knitted.
Knitted, no.
Never. So this one, I am jealous of this pattern. A bit jealous because it's very unique. And then from the same magazine, same year, 1951, what I like of this, not the fact that it snows, because here it doesn't snow, but it's the men's sweater that is so full of details, like small dots in the arms and then squares or
Argyle.
yes, Argyle style here is true. I didn't notice, and the clothing and everything is so fancy. And she wears something more simple, more discreet, and he's there shining in the snow. It's an interesting pattern. I don't see any men wearing it right now as well. I say to my husband, I'm gonna make something like this for you, and he gets angry. I don't want anything like this. I want to go out with something like this.
My husband is the king of Argyle. Argyle socks, Argyle vests, Argyle cardigans. None of them knit by me, all commercially made, on machine, but he loves that look.
It's very, for me, it reminds me like farms in United Kingdom, and you having a nice life around your land. You are the king of the land. It's something very nice. I love this kind of pattern. But well, this is for France. I have something more in France. No, this is what I would like to show. And then I'm gonna, oh, sorry, I opened. Then I'm gonna show you quickly some patterns from Argentina. Argentina had some magazines. I don't know all of them, but one that I like a lot is this one, Album Argentino. It's one of the 30s. And this magazine, it was not a magazine actually. It was a book sold by this shop. I show you here, La Tricoteuse, that was specialized in selling wool and selling handmade sweaters. And here you can see the shop inside.
Wow, lovely.
So beautiful. I'd love to travel on time and go one day to this shop.
Me too.
It should be very nice. And here is a photo of the class, the knitting class.
Oh, lovely, sweet.
And you can see all the girls with their berets, all of them, and their leather shoes, knitting, just doing one of the best things with their friends in a school specialized and you could buy your wool there, buy your materials there, your needles there, everything there. It's just perfect. So this photo is inside this book that I showed to you.
We have things like this today in New York City because in New York it's sweater weather for at least half of the year. And of course, even in the summer, we can wear cotton or linen sweaters. So that exists today, but I guess it doesn't exist in Sao Paulo because people aren't knitting so much.
Yeah, but actually there is one or two shops with this space for knitting together. I just don't go there because they charge, let's say, for the wool and the place. It's too expensive to stay. But it's nice. There are sofas. There are coffee plates.
The places in New York, they don't even seem to mind, at least a couple that I know of, they don't mind if you buy your yarn there. They're just creating a community. And of course, anybody who's a knitter, eventually you're going to crack and buy something, whether it's a needle that you need or a particular ball of yarn that you see that you've never seen anywhere else and you must have. So eventually you will probably buy something. But I think it's more about a community, and it's wonderful. Even in a big city, we have such a thing.
I need to go to New York to know this place. Is really, it would be lovely because something that I miss here is people that like to share the same love for knitting, crocheting, sewing.
Well,
me a bit hard.
Today with COVID, we can only do it over the internet. And at some point, I've mentioned this before, at some point I would like to invite some of my guests back and we'll do something like this virtually. We'll all be knitting with one another, but over the internet. I think it will be fun.
Yeah, the
So
connections changes.
I will include you when I get to that. I'm not there yet.
Oh, thank you. And then here in this book, there are some patterns for the whole family, for babies, for men, and also for women. And they have the style of the era, the emphasis on the neck, the close fitting style, and the puff sleeves. And the girls are always wearing berets, as you can see. Here another one. These ones are with lace knitting. That's something I need to learn. I need to practice. Because they are more adapted to the weather here, more airy, more.
Right. Oh, lace is really fun. If you haven't knit lace, it's really interesting and you shouldn't be afraid of it. I think it's easier than color work because you don't have to worry so much about the tension of your the yarn that's in the back, your floats. You don't have that factor. And it's just a matter of reading the chart and something like that, maybe it's 12 rows, 12 stitches, repeat. It's not anything to be afraid of, and it makes something really lovely. And for you especially, like you say, the air can circulate.
Exactly. I can see a lot of people avoid lace, but the patterns are beautiful, and I also thought like you less problems with tension.
The problem could be in some of these old patterns, they're not showing it on a chart. They might be saying with words, knit 1, purl 3, knit 2. That could be confusing, but once you see it start to form, you could create your own chart and work off of it. I think there might be software also that if you put in those words, it will generate a chart. I know that you can do the reverse, so I imagine that way could work also.
This is thing to know because I didn't know the detail. I'm gonna research a little bit how it's possible to read or to make this without a chart. And here the last photo of this book. Here's what it's called the Russian coat. I don't know if you've seen this style before. It's the third time I see this style for Turkish coat. One in a Brazilian magazine, another one in a French. Now I found the same style in an Argentinian.
Wow.
What nice. Here it's a magazine from Argentina, of the mid-40s, and why I chose to show this one is because I believe the Argentinian style is a bit different of Brazilian or French in this time of this era, the mid-40s, because for me it looks very rural. No, wait. It reminds me the farm. It looks something clothes that you used to go to the farm and help in the farm. You know, they are I don't know, they are not to go to the city or to go to an afternoon tea or something like that. They have this country country style.
Maybe the colors, the 1940s sweater that I knit that I showed in an early episode is very similar to this. It has that kind of vertical ribbing. It has patch pockets on the bottom, and it has a contrasting color at the top. But mine, I chose to knit it not in these colors, but I chose to knit it in like an aqua and a teal color. So I think maybe it's the colors here that are reminding you of the country. If this was in red and white, I don't know if you would find it so country.
It could be different, but I don't know. I still think they're a little. This one is for golf. You can see from.
Yes, the golf clubs.
Yes, the design of the instruments of golf are very shown here, and also the style of the skirt.
Yes.
This one is not so fitted, but it's different and interesting. And here another one that reminds me of the country.
Like a peasant.
Yes,
or like or folk, like a folk costume. Yeah.
With
wow.
Hearts here and all flowers and everything. It's not a style that I would wear, but it's that thing is the culture of the moment. So.
Right.
And this one that is more to visit the city, but still a little bit different of the other ones that I see in other magazines. I like this the way they managed the stripes here in the pockets. Very nice. Also here the stripes are all vertical and horizontal, changing all the time. Very nice.
Interesting.
And here at Tyrolean jumper, like the German.
Oh, Tyrolean.
Tyrolean jumper. They have a pattern for that. That's very beautiful. So the yoke here is very flattering. Another thing. This is not knitting. This is waving. And I find a lot of waving patterns in the Argentinian magazines. I don't know if they have a traditional making blanket blankets or something that uses the waving technique. But I have like 6, 7 of this, and I don't see them as much in the Brazilian ones or in the French ones as I see in the Argentinian ones.
That's interesting. It's very stunning.
It is.
It's almost contemporary looking. It's for its time, it seems very modern. And certainly somebody who's an experienced knitter could adapt that to be knit instead of woven.
Yeah. I would like to see more of these waving patterns actually, because they don't seem difficult to make, and you could pair them easily with your clothes. As you said, they look contemporary.
Mm-hmm. I love that one lapel is red and one lapel is white. It's asymmetrical. It's very smart.
Here, it's true. There was another one I wanted to scan. It's a total red one. It's so beautiful. It's so. In Argentina, I have to remember it's hot as here, but also very cold when it's winter. So probably it would be very useful to have one of this there. And the last one is one of 1950. I posted this on my Instagram. There are some marks here of my Instagram as well. This design is from the magazine Labores from Argentina, and this one is from a pattern published in US. You can see the tropical style, the tropical environment with the bird in the end, and also the bird that is embroidered in the front of the blouse and the bodice. And I don't know which one came first, if it was the Argentinian or the American one. But
that's your next research project to find out which one came first.
Yeah.
Wow.
This bird is from South America. This I know. This bird is from here. It's just beautiful, amazing.
It could be the same time, same company. They just published it in different countries.
Yes, it could be. And I just would like to know who made the choice to illustrate or to photograph, because both are beautiful, but there was a choice. Why not to show the photo, or why not to show the illustration? So this is the last one from Argentina, and I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna go quicker because there are still a few. I'm gonna show you some Brazilian patterns now.
Oh, good.
And first, well, Brazil, there is a thing. Brazil didn't have any magazine specialized in knitting until 1940. But it's possible to check patterns, to see patterns posted in females magazines since the 19th century. These patterns are online for free. If everyone wants to see, it's online. In a work of the National Museum of Digitalizing these patterns. So I have a few patterns from the 30s that are mine, but on internet you can find several patterns. And these ones, they were translations of French patterns. They were not really created here. And the first magazine was created in 1940. This magazine is of 1935. I couldn't scan all of it because it's a big one and I couldn't put inside the scan. But these patterns probably are French. And there is a problem about working with these patterns because they don't have the tension markets there, and they don't have the tension. But compared to the Argentinian ones, they are better because the Argentinian ones don't have the tension, and don't say if the ply is 2 or 3 or 4. They don't say anything. They just say
Wow.
buy yarn and make it. So this is another thing, because I'm not working. I'm still not working with Brazilian or Argentinian or Mexican patterns, because they don't have the tension, and they don't say if it's 2, 3, or 4 or 6 ply. So it's like work in the dark.
Wow.
I am working an Argentinian one. I can show you then, but I'm a little, worried. So this one is from the magazine Arte de Bordage. It was not a knitting magazine. It was a magazine of embroidery that had a few patterns of knitting patterns. And then here is the very first Brazilian knitting magazine. It's cut in here, but the name is Revistadas Las Sams. It means it's like Berna magazine. This magazine is made by brands to show the yarns they had.
Mm-hmm.
And this one is not only showing the yarn, but it's showing the results, the winner of the first national challenge competition of knitting. So the first prize was to this blouse.
Wow.
That has this big hook sleeves. And the thing is, and here is the second prize.
Oh, so that's the pattern from the leather shoulder vest.
Exactly.
Oh.
Exactly.
Mm.
And this is the question. I checked the conditions of the competition, and it was not clear if the knitter had to create a pattern or to reproduce a pattern. So it's weird for me to see a reproduction winning a prize. And she won, this lady that's called Romilda Ponce. She won the prize, the second prize.
They could have no possible way of knowing. I mean, today, even for you to have found this, I think is very impressive. But with the internet, we have a lot more right at our fingertips. Back then, unless they happened to have that magazine, somebody went to France and brought it back, no way.
It's hard to discover that. But one thing I discovered is that that magazine, Le Tricot, the original one, was sold here in Brazil. Was sold in shops, in yarn shops here in Brazil. So probably the lady who made it bought the magazine here and reproduced it, but the judge didn't
know.
Didn't know. Well, congratulations to her.
Yeah, it's still pretty impressive.
Yeah. And well, what happens in this national competition? Another lady called Amélia Laurindo won a prize making baby garments, baby sets. And what happened is that this lady was later hired to be the creator behind the second magazine specialized in knitting of Brazil, because this one was discontinued after a few months. And then the second one is called Tricot et Crochet. That is my bigger collection. Just a second, I'm gonna take one here. I don't know if you're going to see because, oh, look how damaged it is.
Oh, shame.
All of them are like that. They are with many marks, and sometimes some pages are missing. This one is missing the
back.
Yes, mm-hmm. The back. Because these magazines, they are garbage for people.
Right.
They're just garbage. But what happens is Amélia Laurindo started to work with this team, Tricot and Crochet, because the competition. And Amélia created for this magazine from 42 to 52. And she, firstly, she created things very similar to what was being produced in US and in Europe in general. So this, for example, this style published in 42, very similar to what was made there. But with the years, she started to develop a new identity, a new kind of making clothes. And I think this is very particular of Amélia. For example, here is it's 1945, if I remember. She adds a lot of colors, a lot of different stripes to the blouse. What looks very tropical, very happy, very summery. And I love her color choice. Another one with nautical motifs, the sailor. Here, I just seen the Brazilian flag here.
Ah, yes.
I didn't see this before. And then the anchor, the flags.
Wow.
Just
That's adorable.
it's beautiful. It's amazing. Well, this one was made by her as well, and here it doesn't snow. It snows, but it's hard. One time per year in 2 or 3 cities. Anyway, she invested in making this pattern, the glove, the blouse, and this hood. That's on fashion now. Every vintage girl wants a hood these days. And what is funny is that this set was published in December. That is winter in the North Hemisphere, but here is the high summer
of summer. Right.
So there's no sense, but it's beautiful. She used this I don't know if it's intarsia or something. It's amazing. It's just beautiful. Yellow and brown. These were the original colors. And this one, it's very special. It reminds the patriotic jumpers of the Second War, but it's not. Actually, it's another thing, not related. We had a revolution here in São Paulo when the state was fighting against a dictatorship in 1932. But we lost. We lost the fight. We lost this small war. But anyway, every year we have a holiday to remember these soldiers, these people who fought in this war. And this blouse was a commemorative pattern for 15 years of the war, of the revolution. So wow. The colors are white, blue, and red, and really reminds the ones that appear on, there is one on Trove that is related to the Second War, and one or two more American patterns, but this is not. It reminds, but it's not. It's from 1947. Another one where she explores the colors. This very beautiful blue and the pale pink with little pleats and the waist. Pleats in the waist. I love this so much. It's so different of other patterns.
Very pretty.
Yes, she's developing her creativity. It's so beautiful to see her improving. And this one with the butterflies. Well, I thought this could be an original idea of her, but I seen a similar pattern in a catalog, in an American catalog. It's not equal, but the idea comes from someone who worked in the US. Anyway, I dream with this blouse. I dream with these butterflies. I want to have this one. It's very feminine. It's very, here the girl wearing
Oh,
with a bicycle and everything. And this one, last one, I guess. Here it's saying the good neighbors blouse. And if you can read, you can see.
oh, the countries, all the neighboring countries. Ah,
Colombia, Uruguay, Peru, Chile, Paraguay, Bolivia, Venezuela, and Brazil in the top. So Amelia, Mrs. Amelia was very creative. It was a very good thing to the country to have a designer like her. And she is not well known. She's not mentioned anywhere. So it's nice to discover her work in through these magazines. And this is what I would like to show you today. I showed a lot.
oh, well, this was just pure delight. Just looking at them is so exciting, and I could see at least 3 or 4 things there that I myself would love to knit. And I'm sure other people will want to knit these too. Now, are these things that you're able to sell if people want to purchase them?
Well, then I shared in the group, the Facebook group called Vintage Knitting Pattern Library. I guess this is the name. I shared a few French ones there, and I need to share more because, well, they are here, and as you said, I won't meet all of them in my life. So this group, it's on Facebook. It takes a little time to be accepted, but it has a bunch of patterns of many places of the world that the users add. People from Sweden, people from US, from everywhere, they add patterns there. And
all right, I'll get that information. I'll put it in the show notes. If people want to find you, the best place is Instagram or Ravelry or both?
Yes, on Instagram, my profile is called wearing.nostalgia.
And I will print that so they can see wearing.nostalgia.
Yes.
And Ravelry, are you involved?
No, I only used to look for patterns, but...
Oh, okay. Okay, so Instagram.
Instagram for now, yes.
Wonderful. Well, as we get into our winter season here and the temperatures dropping, I'm thinking of you down there and in that nice warm weather, and wishing that someday I'll be able to get on an airplane again and make the trip. And if you ever make your way up to New York, well, I hope that we'll be able to meet in person, but we'll stay in touch. I'm going to try and get my prior guests together, as I mentioned. So thank you for sharing all of your many, many patterns and sharing your time. I'm just so in awe when people whose native language isn't English are able to communicate so effectively. So my cap is off to you. Kudos for that. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I have to say thank you to you for the opportunity to show my magazines and to speak a little more about South America, to represent a little more this part of the world, especially because we are not so inserted in the vintage community. We are few here, and I really love it, this chance to show to you and to all your viewers, to all the people that are going to watch this on YouTube. It got a little longer. I'm sorry if the video is too long, the explanation is too long, but I'm very happy, and I have to say thank you to you again.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
How do you say goodbye in Portuguese?
Ciao.
Just ciao. Ciao.
Ciao.
Not ciao bella, or like they do in Italian.